We're joined by Senator Rick Santorum. Senator, welcome to the Hot Box.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
Good to have you here in North Dakota. I think it says a lot about not only the state of North Dakota, but your candidacy to come to North Dakota. So thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Hey, you got 29 delegates. I'm not scoffing at that. This is not obviously it's a small state, but it's a state that's got some real punch in the election.
Senator, we call it that for a reason. So here we go. You ready? You are in the race for your life. I mean, really, and everybody keeps counting you out. Your opposition keeps, and they're about to get nasty with you. You know that. Are you ready for that? I mean, you've been kind of the underdog, and now you're not anymore.
Well, I mean, obviously, your record is what you have to stand on, and I'm not perfect. I never said I was, but I think we've got a good, strong record, and it's consistent. It shows that we care about limited government. We care about growing our economy. We care about cutting taxes. We care about strong families and strong communities, and a very important role that faith plays in the very nature and structure of our country.
Senator, you mentioned that. I had a chance to sit in when you were visiting with a room full of citizens from the area who had a chance to interact with you. And the one thing that kept coming up was faith and faith-based. How do you define separation between church and state?
Well, the word separation of church and state don't appear in the Constitution. What appears in the Constitution is the free exercise of religion. And the key understanding is that faith can and should have an impact on the governance of our country. The moral codes that the faith teaches, teaches us right from wrong. The Ten Commandments. These are important things to have. I mean, otherwise, how are we going to guide what our country should be based upon if we don't have some sort of sense of right and wrong in making our laws? The interesting is that the government should not have an impact on faith. That's where the real separation of church and states come from, which is the government shouldn't be telling faith institutions how to run their faith. And that's what the Obama administration just did recently with these HHS regulations. They went in and said, you will, Catholic Church or other religious organization, you will do what we tell you to do with respect to a government program, where I believe that is a huge overreach on the part of the government. It's probably an unprecedented overreach.
But you took a broader swipe in that room. You said you believe the left wants to break down churches. Do you truly believe that, or was that speaking to that room?
No, I think that I say that publicly all the time. I think that they want to hollow out the public square, create what you said. Look, the Obama administration put forward a tax plan that limited the deductibility of contributions to charities. Well, who gets the most contributions to charities in our country? It's church-based and church and faith-related organizations. This was an attempt to try to reduce the amount of resources they have to not only obviously preach the faith, but obviously do the mission work that is done by a lot of faith-based organizations. Look at the assault on the family. So it's faith and family and all of these organizations, community organizations and the like, that this administration, I think the left, would like to sort of clear the way away so they can be a direct relationship, and I would argue a dependency between the government and the individual. And I think that's one of the dangers. This country is a great country because it was rich in faith and family and civic organizations and community organizations that allowed the individual to be able to be sustained at the local level. And as those things go away, as those things disintegrate, as we see now, we went from 71% of the people in this country over the age of 18 who were in married relationships down to 51%. As we see churches who are continually marginalized and pushed out of the public square. We see the president now, instead of talking about the freedom of religion, he refers to it as the freedom of worship. Well, there's a difference between freedom of worship, which is to go to church, and the freedom of religion, which is to actively practice your faith outside of church. So yes, I do believe the president is someone who's trying to reorder the relationship of people with these very important institutions in our society and make people more dependent upon government. That's why you see Obamacare, that's why you see a whole bunch of these other programs where they come in and step in and do what used to be done at the community level.
But Senator, I'm a Catholic and I'm a Democrat. And so I bring that up because it struck a chord with me. I don't believe that I or anybody else is trying to break down religion, which is why I asked you the question. The politics of the day, okay, you're heading to Detroit after this. That is Romney ground. And it shows that you're leading in Detroit. What would a win in Michigan mean for Rick Santorum?
Well, I think it would be a huge step in the right direction for us. I've not been in the business of predicting wins. I've been in the business
I don't blame you.
of predicting survival. And so I feel very, very good that we're in a position that we can compete. Obviously, Governor Romney's up with negative ads, which is
did that surprise you? That's kind of his MO, isn't it?
It is his MO. I mean, it's sort of sad that he doesn't go out there and talk about what he wants to do, that his MO, and every time someone challenges him, is to outspend him 10-1 and beat him up so bad. The sad part is you're not going to win the general election that way.
See, to me, the best moment in the debates was when you were the grown-up in the room. When Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney were sitting there, not getting to issues, not talking about issues, and the crowd loved it. You looked at them and said, knock it off. Yeah. Let's talk about the issues of the day. How are you taking that type of momentum to the future debates?
Well, I'm going to continue to talk about the issues. I mean, I think there's a big difference between Governor Romney and me on a whole host of issues, and how effectively we can take it to Barack Obama on the issues that we just talked about, the role of government in people's lives. And I believe that, for example, in the healthcare system, that Obamacare is a top-down government control of our lives, and you're seeing it from these regulations that were put in place. Governor Romney had an almost identical bill in Massachusetts. It would be very hard for him to effectively counter Obama and paint him as someone out of touch with the values of our country, if he in fact had something almost identical to it in Massachusetts. So we're going to talk about who's the best person to take on President Obama, who has the sharpest edge to be able to fell a tree that's not going to be an easy one to fell.
You said something else in that roundtable earlier that stuck with me, that I found myself agreeing with you on. You said that the national media is not as powerful today as they have been in your past. Yeah. And today, you find yourself in Fargo, North Dakota, at the Holiday Inn. You're on local regional television and local regional radio here, where people have access to you. This is going to be streamed. This is going to be podcast. This is going to be. Speak to that issue.
Well, it's not just going to be here. I mean, obviously we do events all over the country, and I hear people come up to you and say, "Well, I saw your event in Tacoma." The other night, and gee, I like the way you did that. So even though it may be an event here in Fargo, it's going to be streamed, it's going to be out there, it's going to be, clips are going to be used in a variety of different places. They're going to be tweeted out, comments that you make, and so what you say here, which is really good, because when you come here and you say, well, let's take an example of the energy industry here. Well, if you came here and just said, hey, I'm all for you for the energy industry, I want to do this, and then you go someplace else and say, well, I'm really not, not that hot on this, you're going to get called on it. So that's why I think the authentic candidate, the one who's consistent no matter where they are and tells the truth no matter where they are, is going to be much better shape in this environment where everything you say is captured and repeated anywhere you go.
Which begs the last question, okay? This is a sugar-based community. Yeah. This is a sugar valley. This is, and you came out and said you're no longer for, or you're not,
I've never
for the
been.
sugar,
yeah,
not for the sugar program.
Yeah.
It's not going to get you a lot of votes overall with some of these sugar beet farmers, or is it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you that what I've supported when I was in the Congress was to making sure that there were markets available for products. I voted for trade agreements, particularly that were being very helpful to agriculture. Pennsylvania's a big ag state. Secondly, I was for risk management programs to make sure that farmers could deal with the risk that is an extraordinary risk, because farmers have obviously weather and other types of risks that other businesses don't have. But when it came to subsidy programs, by and large, I didn't support subsidy programs.
What about crop insurance?
I did, but
will you in the future support crop insurance?
That's a risk management program. I'm sorry, maybe I.
No, I just want to make sure, because a lot of people hear both when they hear that.
No. To me, subsidy programs, the direct payment program is not a risk management program. Crop insurance, I was one of the folks that worked on expanding crop insurance, so other kinds of crops like the truck farming that we do in Pennsylvania. Those strawberry growers and corn growers, sweet corn growers and people like that could have access to this program. And I do believe the federal government has a role in maintaining an adequate food supply to help farmers with these types of risk management programs like crop insurance.
Okay. Senator Santorum, be safe on the campaign trail. Thanks for coming to Fargo. I appreciate it.